Spoštovani gostje, dobrodošli. Najprej obvestilo v slovenščini, da dogodek v celoti poteka v angleškem jeziku, tudi zaradi tega, ker ga lahko udeleženke in udeleženci spremljajo prek spletne platforme Zoom. Za prevajanje ne bo poskrbljeno, vendar pričakujemo, da seveda to k uspehu današnjega druženja, da bo to pripomoglo in da se bomo na koncu zelo dobro razumeli. Dear guests and participants, that was only an announcement in Slovenia that the event is actually taking place in English only. So welcome at the national event of the European Union campaign to boost knowledge valorization. The event is taking place under the umbrella of two initiatives, the Science Month of the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation of Slovenia, and the 16th International Technology Transfer Conference. The aim of the awareness-raising campaign of knowledge valorization is to introduce the latest policy developments on knowledge valorization and to demonstrate how research and innovation results can be better transformed into societal and economic benefits. Today we have gathered a diverse group of participants, including technology transfer experts, researchers and students. Additionally, we're joined by established and future entrepreneurs, investment managers, innovators, as well as representatives from governmental institutions and European policy-making organizations. Our collective objective is to engage in discussions about current and future mechanisms related to knowledge valorization. In this moment, we would like to thank all the European Commission, Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation of Slovenia, and all other partners for their support and contributions in organizing this event. The event is actually taking place in the glass hall of the Grand Hotel Union in the center of Ljubljana, but of course also via Zoom. For your information, the event is being recorded. Now, if we take a look on the program, it includes some summaries of recommendations on knowledge valorization. We will have a round table with experts on this matter, followed by a pitch competition between innovation research projects, and in the afternoon, two parallel sessions, as well as some breaks, and of course, lunch, so you won't stay hungry. But let us start with welcome addresses from the hosts, and we're glad to start with Dr. Romana Jordan, the Josef Stefan Institute's Assistant Director. Please.
Dear Dr. Jure Gašparić, State Secretary at the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. Dear Dr. Peter Dröll, Director for Prosperity at the Directorate General for Research and Innovation. Dear guests, experts, panelists, participants. It's a great honor for me to welcome you at the national event of the European Union campaign to boost knowledge valorization, which takes place within the Science Month and the traditional 16th International Technology Transfer Conference. We are the community of professionals whose everyday work is connected with the science, research, and innovation as well. The mission of the Josef Stefan Institute is accumulation and dissemination of knowledge at the frontiers of natural sciences, life sciences, and engineering. Equally important is our ambition to turn research results into sustainable products and solutions for a better quality of life, including also environmental benefits, as we contribute to the development of several also key enabling technologies, such as quantum and nanotechnologies, biotechnologies, new materials, computer and communication technologies, nuclear engineering, to mention just some of them. This ambition of use of knowledge is of utmost importance because we face many challenges every day, and citizens expect us to be a driving force to deliver answers or solutions, be they global or national. We must not betray people's trust. Throughout the years of the conference, we have been constantly learning from our friends in esteemed institutions across the world, which enabled us to participate in the developments of technology transfer system, not just within the Jožef Stefan Institute, but have been active partner in building national support innovation system in close collaboration with the competent ministries, agencies, support organizations, and partner public research organizations. We helped address numerous challenges, such as securing funding sources for innovation within spin-out companies during the proof of concept phases, proposing changes in national legislation related to research and innovation, spin-out development, and establishing and coordinating 2 consecutive consortia of technology transfer offices at leading Slovenian research institutions and universities. Looking ahead, the Central and Eastern European Technology Transfer Initiative presents a promising investments program in collaboration with EIF, Slovenian and Croatian development banks. This initiative will offer spin-out teams the unique opportunity to secure investments pre-incorporation. Furthermore, we celebrate a significant legislative milestone with the incorporation of spin-outs into the new National Act on Scientific Research and Innovation. Since 2022, Slovenian public research organizations can take equity in their spin-outs, making a pivotal recognition of spin-outs in national law. This breakthrough, while promising, necessitates practical implementation, offering both challenges and opportunities that we shall explore in our discussions. At the commencement of the 16th International Conference on Technology Transfer, we eagerly anticipate reflecting on the journey taken. Many participants from the conference, and especially at the competition for the best innovations from public research institutions, have embarked on the initial stages of commercialization, and some of them established their spin-outs companies based on technologies and inventions developed within their research institutions. The entrepreneurial researchers' pitch competition emerged as a pivotal platform, often marking the team's initial exposure to the prospect of establishing their own ventures. The competition guided them through the vital stages of developing their first business model and crafting an impactful pitch. To date, nearly 100 entrepreneurial research teams have engaged in the competitions, resulting in the awarding of 30 winners. We also take immense pleasure in the growth of the conference in the last 3 years, notably through the inclusion of peer-reviewed contributions from researchers specializing in the field of technology transfer. This expansion augments the knowledge base and elevates awareness surrounding the transfer of technologies and innovations. Finally, let's reflect on the evolving organizational structure of the technology transfer organization and cooperation with industry at Jožef Stefan Institute. The team of our dedicated individuals over the past decade and a half has stabilized the Institute's support for researchers in the commercialization and advancement of their innovations. Thank you for being a part of this incredible journey, and here's to the promising future that lies ahead. Wishing you a good, fruitful work.
So that was Dr. Romana Jordan, the Assistant Director of the Jožef Stefan Institute in Ljubljana. Our next opening speaker of honor is the State Secretary in the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, Dr. Jernej Gašparić.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, guests, ladies and gentlemen, DGs, directors, vice directors, I won't name anyone because I'll try to be really short. Although when one begins a speech saying that he is going to be short, corpus linguistic data shows that he's usually not really short, but I'd rather really be short. I'm really honored to discuss with you a theme today that resonates deeply with our mission at the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. As you might know, we are kind of a startup. We are a newly established ministry, which means that we are really enthusiastic in our decision to pursue our mission. And our mission, as already mentioned today, is to transfer knowledge into practice with the aim of developing society and, of course, therefore establishing a stimulating environment for research and innovation. And, of course, an important, really important milestone, I hope this is the right expression, on this journey is, of course, knowledge valorization. And knowledge valorization, of course, especially through the lens of a small country, smaller, not really small country, like ours. We have, of course, our own problems, advantages, and disadvantages. I'd just like to deliver one message as we delve into the discussions and exchanges at this conference. We should remember that knowledge valorization is not or should not be about or just about numbers and statistics. Every researcher knows that metrics, of course, are an essential part of our work, but it should really be more about the impact we can have on our society. I encourage you all to engage in the dialogues, share your experiences, forge partnerships, and wish you a fruitful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gašparić. That was short, actually. So congratulations on that. Yeah. Now our next opening speaker of honor is Dr. Peter Dröll, representing the European Commission as Director for Prosperity and the Director General for Research and Innovation. Dr. Dröll, always welcome in Slovenia.
Thank you so very much. Good morning. It's just great to be here. I don't think I can cope with this short message from you, Dr. Gašparić, but I'll try. Let me start where Dr. Jordan Yu ended, with a look at a possibly bright future for which research and innovation plays a tremendously important role. We published this summer in July a strategic foresight report. It's quite a good paper, actually, even if published by us. So it basically has 4 scenarios for our transition to something which would correspond to our ambition to be the first climate-neutral continent. And the 4 scenarios depend on whether they're driven by industry, by business. That would be a green boost scenario, or by states, the eco-state, so strong governments taking action. That would be the eco-state scenario, or by citizens, by communes, by communities. That would be, we call it the local eco-states. Or in the 4th scenario, the least desirable is actually that our transition would be driven by crisis. And we have seen also over the summer, and you have seen it in particular painfully, Ray, here in Slovenia, that our crises are increasing. So the conclusion from this foresight report is that we need clear transition pathways. And 2 key messages from there is we need to, in these transition pathways, we need a new social contract, because our societies risk drifting apart, polarization, just as one word. And in addition to this new social contract or pact, we would need to pay more attention to intergenerational solidarity across Europe. So I think this is just one example of science providing the evidence base for building a better, stronger future. And that is at the heart of what knowledge valorization is about. Creating from new knowledge value for the economy and for the society by linking different actors, because our problems are increasingly complex, linking disciplines, actors for creating this value in society. And when we look at the EU more generally, we can do better in this field, in this knowledge valorization. And for that reason, we took policy action. And Director General Dr. Boh will present the recommendation, the council recommendation on this. My colleagues here, Ioannis and Florentina, will present the codes. Let me just make 2 or 3 very short points on that. For us, it's very important that we widen the notion from technology to knowledge transfer. I'm sorry for the ITTC guys. Yeah? Don't worry. Technology transfer is central to knowledge valorization, but it's no longer this transfer, and I think that's also what you do. It's co-creation. It's combining actors. It's bringing disciplines together. So more than transfer. That's one point. Second, it should be very broad. It's not just the traditional players, universities, business, and administration. No, it's also civil society organizations. It's foundations. So broad emphasis here on knowledge valorization. And the third element, which is very important for us, is this entrepreneurial spirit. And I very much like that you said you are in a startup in the ministry. I think that's fantastic. We need solutions. We need a solution-oriented approach, and I will see whether we can also consider us as a startup back in the research department in Brussels. So more to come. We will present the 2 codes on intellectual property, or intellectual assets actually, and on standardization. But we are also working on 2 more codes to make it practical and applicable, the guiding principles, on business academia cooperation, where Slovenia is particularly strong actually, and on citizen participation. And there's a public consultation going on right now, still 1 week. So it would be great if you can engage if you haven't done it yet. So more to come from us. To conclude, and to come back to how we can deal with the future, it doesn't look so bright right now, if we are honest with ourselves. So I would take courage from a quote from Marie Skłodowska-Curie, who once said, "There's nothing to be feared, only to be understood. And now's the time to fear less and understand more." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dröll. That was a kind of a semi-short, I would say, but you're here to talk, so we'd like to hear a lot of things from you, and you'll also take part in the round table a little bit later. To conclude the opening part, representing the Research and Innovation Agency of Slovenia, I'm happy to invite on stage Dr. Levin, Assistant Director.
Well, hi. I guess this is working. Okay, I wrote something down, so I will be very short, I guess. But I would like to welcome you on behalf of the Slovenian Research and Innovation Agency, and I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to the event. I wanted to say that with the adoption of the Act on Scientific Research and Innovation Activity, in 2021, the field of innovation and innovation management, including knowledge valorization, is being intensively developed and regulated at the Slovenian national level as well as in our agency. Of course, there's a lot of room for improvement, but this in no way means that there was no innovation activity in Slovenia before. This International Technology Transfer Conference is the 16th in the row, which is exact proof that there has been a long tradition of innovation activity in Slovenia. Thanks to Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation and the European Regional Development Fund, the offices for technology transfer from 8 biggest Slovenian public research organizations were brought together in years 2017 until 2022 into a consortium to exchange experience, knowledge and good practice. And we are, of course, looking forward to new such operations. The event is also interesting for me personally because I was working in the technology transfer office at Josef Stefan Institute for more than a decade, and I feel by my heart that I belong there. It's always great to come back and see that the researchers are proactively involved into international collaborations and innovation-related projects. So to conclude, the agency wishes you an interesting event. Based on the program, we are sure that the event will contribute to the additional accumulation and exchange of knowledge between the participants. And above all, we wish you a good networking, which will contribute to even better and potential new collaborations. So thanks you again for the invitation and thank you for the words. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pal. We'll see you also in the panel. Feels like having a competition on short speeches, but we'll talk, no problem. Now we have arrived to the recommendation part of the conference, and our opening speaker in this section is Dr. Tomaž Boh, Acting Director General in the Science Directorate of the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. Welcome on board, and let's rock and roll.
Thank you very much for word. Thank you very much for invitation. Unfortunately, by my background, I'm social scientist, so I cannot promise to be short. But nevertheless, I will try to present the Council recommendation on the guiding principles for knowledge valorization. First of all, I believe it's much more important it's important to go to the background, to the framework where these recommendations are, while it's just one standing block, one building block of the whole system for knowledge valorization. Okay, first of all, we should ask ourselves why knowledge valorization. After such a brilliant introductory speeches, well, it's hard to say something new, but nevertheless, to put them all three elements in the framework. First of all, maximizing economic and social value. If in the past the maximizing economic value was quite an important, or let's say prevailing element, we all believe that the societal impact, societal value, it's now one of the most important elements due to the several reasons, not only because of the catastrophes already mentioned, but because the world changed in the last 20 years. After I will show you the timeline, how the idea developed from 2008 when the first document from the European Commission was adopted. But nevertheless, from that time, there is quite a number of things which changed, and that's why it's so important to include also society in broader sense, and it's important to do so to refer, or let's say to be close to the more desirable scenarios of already mentioned foresight study for the future. So not be driven just by economy, but be driven by the societal needs and the prosper of the not only European continent, but also broader. The second element, accelerating innovation. already said by colleague Peter Dröll that we are in Europe not so good in accelerating this innovation. The transfer from, or let's say transition from the universities and academia to business sector and include in the meantime also the society, citizen science and open science as well. The third element, enhancing research impact. Of course, if we would like to avoid or be prepared to the future events, for the future, let's say also coming catastrophes related to the climate change and some other elements, we have to be prepared and have to have in mind the last quote of Marie Curie, actually already expressed before. So these are three elements which are so important. And here, already mentioned the way how the historical overview looks like. First of all, the Commission recommendations in 2008 focused mostly on the IPR management. Then Council conclusions in 2000, Council another Council conclusions, and I would especially like to mention the last two, which are also the product of Slovenian presidency, adopted during our presidency, Council recommendations and Council conclusions, which are actually the building blocks of the process which we are promoting today with this awareness raising campaign, as already said. And of course, in these documents, the knowledge valorization has a special role, so it means in the documents related to the new era, to the Pact for Research and Innovation, and also future era governance. Now I would like, here is just the cover page of the recommendations adopted in December, 2nd of December 2022. Quite a number of numbers too are here. And what is important, this is the document which was adopted by the member states, but it means that also complement the documents prepared by the European Commission and also processes going on in the member states. After me, the colleagues from the European Commission will present two codes which are also the guiding line and the background for the knowledge valorization processes which are going on in the EU, national and regional level. It's also important to say that the guiding principles are non-binding documents. So it means that it's just a handbook, manual, how to do things, and what is important, that we are doing them as much as possible in an equal footing, in the same level, in the same direction in all member states. While it's important to the several reasons, as I already say, world change in the last decades, and we have to have in mind, first of all, technological sovereignty, foreign interference, inclusive policies, all government policies in the field of research and innovation. So it means to include other ministries, not only those actors which are usual suspects in the policy arena related to the research and innovation, but also attract other stakeholders, attract other ministries, attract other players from the regional level as well. In Slovenia, it's a bit harder, while we do not have very strong this middle level, but nevertheless, there are also some, especially associations which are working in this middle level between local and state as well. Here, again, already mentioned transition from the knowledge transfer to knowledge valorization. And there are, we would say that knowledge transfer is part of the knowledge valorization, but knowledge valorization is much broader, much bigger, and includes also ecosystem, co-creation of policies, inclusion of different stakeholders, inclusion of social, of the citizen science, and so on. So it's important, if we would like to be competitive in a global level, to use all our potentials in the process of transferring the scientific part, the science results, to business and especially to society. And that's why it is so important also include colleagues like me and colleague Jure, he is a historian. I'm a political scientist, so it means humanities and social sciences should also be part of this process, while all the technological things and inventions and so on are somehow transferred and implemented into the society. And if there is a resistance in society, the technological solutions are not actually implemented as they should be. And now I will slightly go to the part which should be the central part of my presentation, but nevertheless I would just like to say that I will not go into the details about the recommendations, while the document is quite short one. And I would like to invite all of you interested in these guidelines to go through and to read it. Maybe it's just, here is, I believe, much more important to say something, as I said, about the framework. Why it is so important to have such kind of recommendations, and maybe a tiny part, what we are also already doing in this respect in Slovenia. First of all, knowledge valorization in research and innovation policy. Already mentioned before, we adopted in 2021 a new law in research and innovation, which is the basis for new, implementation or new collaboration between research and innovation. On the other hand, we also make a room for better and bigger autonomy of research institutions. So it means that they are free to choose to make their own institutional strategies, with whom to collaborate, how to collaborate, and how to best use their knowledge and the results of their research work. Already mentioned possibility to create startups. It's a bit complicated, but still it's possible to do so. With a stable financing, we enabled the knowledge valorization and knowledge transfer activities be financed directly through the institutional budget, not waiting for a tender launched by the state. And we also believe that this is an important element for a new kind of management of institutions. And I have to say, after 2 years of running this law, that there are substantial and significant changes in Slovenian environment. While there is a diversification of institutions, they are doing a bit different their job, slightly adopted to their target audiences, to subject of their work, and so on. And we believe that this is the process we aimed to start with the new law. But on the basis of this law, we also adopted the general national strategy, scientific research and innovation strategy of Slovenia, which has a special chapter related to the knowledge transfer, knowledge valorization, and it's completely in line with EU processes going on in this area, and especially as a let's say, implementation acts, also the action plan for knowledge valorization and management of IPR. And in a next occasion, I will also add something about the open science, which is also an important part of this process. The second element, or the second principle, is related to skills and capacities. Of course, we all know that there is nothing just happen. We have to somehow stimulate the processes. We have to stimulate institutions and different associations to work together. And I would say that today's meeting is, of course, one of such an important elements which will enable us, enable different stakeholders to work together, to exchange views, and also to gather new skills and, of course, capacities. But in this respect, I would like to mention two state incentives. One, it's already ended. It's already ended. It's a project or the instrument for support to the knowledge transfer offices, and I would say this was first time in Slovenia. It was financed in the previous cohesion perspective. It was first time in Slovenia that we systematically financed the field of knowledge transfer, and this was the basis for establishing the professionals in this field, which are located in all the public research institutions, universities, and institutes. And this is and one of the goals of the tender or of the instrument was also to make a community. So not to have them just in each of the research institutions, but link them, that they will work together, that they will exchange views, exchange good and especially exchange bad practices all the time. And what's also important when talking about the knowledge valorization and transfer of knowledge, in some cases there are no practices, no good, or either bad. So that these professionals are able to create a new reality, a new framework, a new background for these activities. And we are just, I have to say that in a few weeks, or let's say a month's time, the new tender will be launched, and we strongly believe that this will be continuation of already existing work, already existing capacities, and we will increase them. And the capacity which is already in place will be financed through the basic research funding of the research institutions. So that we are just with the new funds from structural funds, we are adding each time something new, but what's already established should become part of regular funding at the institutional level. Okay, system of incentives, it's always of course, important to have your instruments, national ones, linked to the topics of knowledge valorization, that the funding instruments are organized or prepared in a way that stimulate such kind of collaboration and so on. And I have to say that we launched quite a number of instruments in the last years, and there are more to come in the next years. Most of them, but not all, financed through the structural funds, which strongly push research and business and society actors to work together. I will maybe just like to mention those so-called strategic research and innovation partnerships in Slovenia. If everything will be all right, the call will be launched on this Friday. Then we have also projects supporting this middle range from 3 to 6 technology readiness level, which will also be launched. But what's also important, that we will in the future, as a development of innovation part of our startup, of our ministry, actually we will strengthen these instruments which will and which supposed to stimulate the collaboration between business and researchers. Then it's intellectual assets management. Here I would like to mention that here is the place for institutional strategies, that they adopt strategies in a way which is the most suitable for each of the institutions. And in this point, I would also like to mention the concept of open science. On the first side, we could say that when talking about the knowledge transfer and how to say use of knowledge, it's in a contradictory with open science, which is per se the element which the knowledge should be available openly to all of the potential users. But we strongly believe in Slovenia, and also it's a strong believe also in all other levels and among other stakeholders, that these are not conflicting concepts, that we should develop the metrics in a way that support the knowledge transfer and knowledge valorization, that we should introduce the citizen science, which also stimulates the transfer from research institutions, inclusion of society for the benefits of the society, not necessary for the economic reasons. And open science is one of the great transformations, the field of open science is one of the great transformations in Slovenia. We adopted the governmental decree. Also, we have action plan for development of this field. And of course, I have to say that when you are introducing such a great challenges and changes in the system, which was running before for decades with the different age factors, and with the citation indexes and so on, and was in a totally different background, it's always process, which means that it needs a great communication, a lot of discussions, and of course we do it in all occasions, and today we also have one in this respect, but it's a continuous process, and we believe that we are in the right way to do so. The next one, relevance in public funding schemes. Already mentioned that there are elements, there are instruments related to that, and because of that I would just like to skip to the sixth one, peer learning. Of course, this is the mutual exchange of good practices and so on. Slovenia is very active in mutual learning exercise, and we are also also very active in the knowledge valorization platform. So our colleagues from the ministry are very often participating in all these events, and also today's event shows that there is a great interest to do so in Slovenia, not only at the ministry, but also in the circles of research institutions and knowledge valorization, knowledge transfer professionals, which are very active in Slovenia. At the end, metrics, monitoring and evaluation. Of course, we should know what we are talking about. We should have common grounds to discuss, to measure in a way, but not to use a stick with after the metrics, but to know where we are and to adopt measures which are most important and most appropriate for the stakeholders, and also for the advancement of the European research area, where the knowledge valorization is one of the most important elements. Just for the end, I would like to add that when talking about the knowledge valorization, it's not only the question of introduction of new instruments, it's a question of mindset, changing of a mindset, changing of a understanding of the value of knowledge, of research results, and of the ways how to transfer them to the society. We all know, and the current changes and challenges shows...
Recording in progress.
Okay, that shows that the economic part of the system, it's not and should not be the driving force for the advancement of society. We have so many challenges that we have to address, the all societies, the all different stakeholders, actually to build the future, the society of the future, which will be as close as possible to one of the most desirable scenarios already mentioned in the beginning, and not we should not become the society driven by the catastrophes. So, dear organizers, dear all, thank you very much. I promised at the beginning that I cannot compete with my colleagues before, but nevertheless, I hope that I give you a framework for the knowledge valorization from the point of view of the member states, and this is, as I said, a building block together with Commission and other stakeholders to create a better and prosperous future of the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boh. That was a fairly acceptable result when it comes to shortness for an expert on political science. But you will have the possibility to elaborate a little bit more in the panel to come. But before that, we will have two presentations on Commission recommendation. First, of the Code of Practice on management of intellectual assets for knowledge valorization, and a little bit later also on the Code of Practice on standardization. I'm really happy to announce now Ms. Florentina Golisteanu, the Policy Officer for Valorization Policies and IPR in the Directorate General for Research and Innovation of the European Commission. You can be short if you want, but you have a total of 30 minutes together with your colleagues, so I mean, feel free to use it.
Good morning. Thank you for your invitation, and I'm glad to be here in Ljubljana today to discuss together with esteemed colleagues at national level about your projects. And I've seen a lot in the presentation before. I think you're doing great. I will try to be short. You will see that I have a couple of slides who are longer than my proposed speech, because I believe that, as the Latins say, verba volant scripta manent. So I will try to say just a few words about the context, about the overall goals of our recommendations, and leave the background slides speak for themselves. You will also get them after the conference, so maybe you can go through them at your own pace. This being said, just a couple of words about the policy context. As the distinguished speakers before me already mentioned, we have new concepts, so I will not delve too much into the knowledge valorization. I think by now we all are aligned on the fact that we have bridged the gap from knowledge transfer to knowledge valorization. I would just like to point out that in our awareness raising campaign, we count on all of you to raise awareness and basically to disseminate the concepts and the recommendations and strategies behind that. And I've seen on the blog of the University of Ljubljana a very nice article, which basically makes a nice transition from knowledge transfer to knowledge valorization. And it starts with potato, potato. Is it the same thing? Not really. I will have the link at the end, so congratulations for those who wrote the blog. A very good promotion of the new concept. When it comes to intellectual assets, Peter was already mentioning that we consider that this covers much more than the classical intellectual property rights. So we have those rights which can be protected and which are very useful in order to develop a business case because they can be valued, but there are some knowledge, data, know-how, prototypes, processes, and so on, which really count in order to valorize the knowledge, and they also are considered part of intellectual assets. So today I will be referring to both of these. You have just a short slide about our policy work that you already know about from previous presentations. So in order to be short, I will go straight to the recommendations. why this recommendation, which is now a Commission recommendation on the Code on Management of Intellectual Assets. Basically, we thought that it's good to have hands-on guidance. As my predecessors on this stage have mentioned, we need a handbook, some guidance. But this is very flexible, and it's up to you how to use it. What we would like to see is that at national, regional, and in every organization, we have an increase of the use of research results to respond to economic, societal, and policy challenges in a more accelerated way, because science has always helped us, but maybe now we can help bring science results closer to the market and sooner. And for that, we believe that every organization needs an adequate strategy for the portfolio, a suitable toolkit on how to develop this strategy and put it into practice, and of course, they need to have an appropriate valuation of their intangibles, of what they can bring, not only to the organization, but to the partners, to the market, to the society in general. And for that, of course, we need to know how to monitor the results and how to disseminate them. Here you will see just a very brief overview of the Council recommendations, which is based on 3 pillars. You have a more detailed outline of each of these pillars, but if I can sum up in one word, it will be about having the proper strategy. So the one word for the first pillar is strategy. Then teaming up with the right partners and having the proper framework. So the second one would be about partners. And the third one would be about bringing this technology to the intended users. So I would say scale up as the key word. When it comes to the strategy, here indeed you will see a very rich slide, but this is just as a handbook that you can use later to maybe tick the box when it comes to the strategies in your organizations. You pick and choose what suits best your own valuation strategy. That's why it's good to have it in front of you when considering a strategy and when implementing it. And we strongly encourage publishing these strategies by the organization so that they are known to their partners. They know the mission, they know the type of knowledge assets, the ways the due diligence is done on the portfolio, but also I heard a lot about how spin-offs and startups are being encouraged here. So it would be good to have some guiding lines in these strategies, and then talking about the professional expertise and the metrics. And now I go to a concept which seems very close to your hearts here, open science and open innovation. And thank you for setting the scene just before this. You make my work much easier because we are trying to promote this. Indeed, in the community of researchers, sometimes there is a question whether there is real complementarity between open science, open innovation, and intellectual assets management, and indeed it is. Basically, we have here a couple of, again, I like checklists, a couple of ideas on how to apply open science and open innovation, and you look at whether there are grounds for protecting IP or not. In some cases, it may be important for the business partners to have protected IP, but in other cases, it would be good to consider sharing on an open platform the results so that many other partners tip up. And talking about complementarity, there is this good example of patents, where indeed you have the invention protected, but then the underlying documentation behind it is made public and others know what led to that. So how to promote open innovation? We encourage publication and exploitation strategy that you can see here a bit in more detail, and these open innovation platforms. And I will link to the knowledge valorization platform that our DG is strongly promoting, where we share best practices. I also heard before my intervention about the fact that we need to exchange best practices. I encourage to promote your own practices and to also look for other practices there. And seeing how much aligned we are today, we also have recommendations on education, training, and awareness raising. And this, of course, is normal when we consider that the Commission recommendations try to implement the main 7 principles that are already in the guiding principles. So we delve a bit more into those recommendations regarding education, training, and awareness raising. We feel that this is paramount in order to change the mindset and to also be operational in establishing partnerships. And for that, we need capacity buildings to have the proper professionals trained, which have a clear permanent position. And I see that you are doing that. You have a network of knowledge transfer offices, and that's very nice. We also need more training, more education on the substance, on what intellectual assets mean, but also on available funding opportunities, on the ways to network and create partnerships. Of course, this can also be done through peer learning, through hiring, through mobility schemes, from the industry to academia and the other way around, and the support of third-party experts, because we believe that a researcher can foster very entrepreneurial skills, so develop complementary skills, but sometimes they just need to team up with a professional. So everybody does the work in the best way. Here, again, a bit of a checklist on which are the, let's say, what we consider to be the most required skills to develop a real entrepreneurial mindset. Again, I will not delve into this. I will try to be very brief. But I think when establishing the strategies for your own organizations, it's good to look into this and develop the respective training to respond to these challenges. When it comes to knowledge, when it comes to negotiation skills, and when it comes to cooperation internationally, to understand a bit the mindset and the legal regimes in other states. When it comes to partners, because I was saying that one of the keywords refers to partnerships, it's good to have a good collaboration. And in order to set up a good collaboration, it's good to have the principles set out from the outset in a clear agreement. Who comes with what to the project, what kind of intellectual assets they bring to the project, what kind of knowledge, what kind of funding, and what happens with what results from the project. Again, a clear strategy on the ownership, on the transfer, on the dissemination of the research results. And what I would like maybe to highlight from the standpoint of the European Commission is that we have support services, and we highly encourage especially SMEs and startups, spin-outs, to use toolkits which are available to them, like model agreements that they can personalize, so we make their work easier. And I think we come to the end of my presentation when we talk about scaling up, about how we bridge the gap from intellectual assets creation, which is mostly the work of the scientists, to the market when we team up with businesses, with citizens, to make sure that results really bring those societal and economic benefits we talked about. And for that, I would like again to summarize in a couple of keywords. Consider whether you need to protect or share your intellectual assets, how to evaluate them and engage with professionals to do that, and which are the right tools to transfer, and whether you need a pool with other partners. And I really come to the end of my presentation now. You have a couple of websites, fact sheets, the reference to the blog I was mentioning that I highly encourage you to check on your own. You'll have all this available after the presentation today. And the support services I was mentioning about, please engage with them. They are there to help you. And this was it. Thank you very much. Happy to take questions afterwards.
Well, that was super fast, Ms. Golisteanu. But we have another presentation before the start of our panel. I'm really happy to invite on stage Mr. Ioannis Sagias, the Deputy Head of the Unit for Valorisation Policies and IPR and the Director General for Research and Innovation in the European Commission. He will present the Commission recommendation on the Code of Practice on Standardization. Please.
Thank you very much. I will try to participate in this competition of short presentations, but and I'm not a social scientist, so I think I might manage it. So this is the second code of practice that we would like to present you today, and thank you for having us here. It's always a pleasure to be in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, and also see the developments that take place during this lapse time since the last time. So, for us, it is important to demonstrate how knowledge valorization goes into practice. And we have identified that for every valorization channel, every way that we can valorize knowledge deserves to have at least one tool and demonstrate how this valorization can take place. So for us, standardization is one of the key elements for knowledge valorization to create value through the knowledge we're generating. And let's put things straight from the beginning here. It is very important to have standards, because through standards we can take small-scale research or middle range or even high-range research and make it global. So we can take things from the lab and through standardization processes to reach global markets and make something which sounds very risky in the beginning and make it much more accessible and easy to use on a daily basis. You can even imagine standards that we all use today. Europe was in the forefront of this standard development, but lately I think that we've been overpassed from other parts of the world. That doesn't mean that we're not very active in the standardization. But the thing is that with standardization, still we're, I think, number one in standards which are based on research and scientific papers. And we are a powerhouse there. So we need to make more standards. We need to make Europe's position a bit more evident in the standardization. And we need also, I said a lot of times the word need, so it means that it's indeed something pressing. We have to understand that standard is not something which is away from us. It's something which is very difficult to grasp. It's something which doesn't concern us. It really concerns us. We can all agree that if we change the word standard just for a moment in our mind and we use the word commons, it's much easier to understand. We all like to work on common understanding, on common specifications, on common approaches. So this translates into something which we call standard. And it's easier, of course, to see it in the technological fields, but I think it's equally easy to see it also in a social environment, in our behavior, and in other, let's say, contexts which are far from the technologies. So this is just to understand that standards concerns us all, and it's something that we should always engage when we are in the research and innovation environment. So this slide, you've seen it before. I will not say much here. I just wanted to say that for every valorization channel that we have identified, we want to have at least one tool. And one of these tools, as Florentina mentioned before, we would like to have hands-on guidance that you can use as checklists in your daily business. And what we just saw, and when we try to see the new standardization strategy at the European level, we realized that these two strands of work, the research and innovation and standardization, although they have so many commonalities and so many points that they can actually cut through, they didn't. They're acting as parallel tracks instead of overlapping tracks. And that was identified in the new standardization strategy. And the idea is that to tap on this unexploited potential of the pre-normative research. So to do research in order to make new standards or improve existing standards. And this is something that we need to do a bit more. And also, as Florentina mentioned before, there's a tool available, there is a service, support service available to projects, which is called Standardization Booster. And everyone that wants to, every project that has been funded under Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe is entitled to this support service. And if you have standardization activities or consider standardization activities in your tasks, then you can use this service to take it further. So the idea, as I said before, is to have a code of practice that brings these two worlds together, closer. If possible, make them overlap. So to have standardization strand of work and standardization experts, and by the way, we need more standardization experts in Europe, to work closer with the research and innovation community, and of course, provide guidance to researchers and innovators to engage more with standardization. We started some time ago, and that's a slide I will not stay longer. We started some time ago with making a lot of surveys. This is a typical commission way of gathering information, including everybody, and working together in achieving something that will be finally accepted by everybody, especially from the communities I mentioned before. So we have the code published the 1st of March in 2023, and we're really happy because on this code we have recommendations that are simple and they can be engaged from everybody in the daily business. And it's also important to see that this code addresses all possible levels that we have into the standardization environment. So we have the standardization organizations, we have the practitioners, we have the member states, because we have also recommendations at policy level. So the main recipients of these recommendations are the higher education institutions and innovation institutions, organizations that deal with research and innovation. We have the project partners, so whoever deals with projects in research and innovation, and of course we have the policy stakeholders. So these recommendations address all three layers, and we have different sets of recommendations for each layer. And I will go very quickly through that. The first layer is the higher education. So you heard it before. What we need is to have a strategy at institution level. And normally, either you have an individual standardization strategy, or you have a strategy within your intellectual asset management, including standardization. Because we believe that these two ways of working actually generate the same strand, the same river of value. So the idea is to have a standardization policy, a strategy at your institution level. And then you consider that the standardization activities should be something that should be rewarded from your researchers, from your innovators, from your people in your institution. And also allow training and education on standardization, make more awareness, and making the technology transfer offices and the knowledge transfer offices be aware of what standardization needs are and mediate towards the researchers, but also towards the management and the governance of the institution. And of course, if possible, include standardization as an indicator for measuring the performance in the institution. Now, when it comes to project partners, I think most of you participated in European projects and national or regional projects. So you need to see, every time you submit a project, you analyze the landscape. So when you analyze the landscape, it's good also to analyze the standards landscape that your project might stumble upon. You might, if you have a technological project, you might most probably see technological standards in front of you that need to be incorporated in your work. You need to see which kind of standards are outdated, or if you really need to be engaging in a standardization process. So in that sense, if this is the case, then probably you need the right partner. Or you develop your own skills and capacities, or you engage and you partner with the right company, with the right expertise in order to have this standardization view inside your project. And then, of course, you engage with your stakeholders. And if standardization is one of the strands of your work, then you engage with them as early as possible. You put down realistic outputs. And of course, you need to combine it with what can be done, because making a standard or updating a standard takes time and effort, and also takes some funding. And of course, sustainability. This is important for everything, of course, because after the end of the project, and you know that very well, things tend to stop. But the standardization process that started during the project cannot stop simply because your project is over. So you need to think about how we can continue until the last step, and also standardization booster can help projects on that. Let's say, overcome the little valley of standardization death. Now, about policy and stakeholders. Standardization needs to be, again, something high in the political agenda in the member states. So it's not only standards, it's something that my standardization agency or my standardization authority is doing, but it's something that needs to leave this silo and enter the research and innovation ecosystem and vice versa. So these two, let's say, pools of talent, pools of skills, they need to come together, and I think that's a policy at national level that can ensure that. And of course, we have the member states that they need to see what kind of needs, standardization needs their startups and SMEs are facing and focus on that. And that can be also part of the specialization strategies or the national strategies, regional strategies that you might have. And of course, as I said, to have the standards development organization engaging in the whole R&I value chain. And consider your support to all this strand of work and all this engagement. So we need funding also to be allocated for standards. And I think this summarizes more or less the key recommendations at very high level. Of course, I didn't go into details of the 3 layers of this code of practice. More information you can find in these links. You have also in Florentina's presentation more information. But what I wanted to say is that we try with this awareness-raising campaign to raise awareness about this knowledge valorization, communicate the message about what knowledge valorization is, which is simply making value out of the research investment and scientific knowledge that we generate. And we have the campaign, which happily we're here today to participate in the Slovenian event, but we have also a mutual learning exercise because we try with member states to understand and bring back the commons idea to create a common understanding around knowledge valorization. It's a new term. It's a term that probably might look similar to something else, but we need always to keep a common understanding around this new term and embrace it in a way that it can be helpful and useful for all of us. And also we have the knowledge valorization platform. 30 seconds on the knowledge valorization platform. It was mentioned from Florentina. Please use it. It has a lot of practices coming from different parts of Europe. It has also practices not only at national level, but also at stakeholder level. And it's, I think, the best tool to demonstrate peer learning and increase this dialogue. And we have this expression of celebrating this peer learning with the Knowledge Valorization Week every year, but all the best practices come from this platform, and this platform is also the way that we communicate with you whatever is happening around the world of knowledge valorization. It was mentioned by Peter, and as I said also before, every valorization channel that we have identified back in 2020 when we did the first introduction of knowledge valorization in the new European research area, every valorization channel deserves at least one tool to demonstrate how the value can be generated, captured, and used. And now we're moving, besides the intellectual asset management standardization, to a code of practice on industry academia co-creation, which is very important, and also it goes deeper in the ways that these two entities, these two worlds actually come together. And the code of practice on citizen engagement, because we believe that citizens is not only the final users of all of our efforts, but also they can be from the beginning involved into shaping ideas based on their needs. So these two consultations, these two online surveys are available until the 20th of October. The links are in the presentation. We can, of course, share it with you later on. And I think with this one, I thank you for listening to me, and I will be happy to take any questions in the break.
And now we have arrived to the start of the roundtable on knowledge valorization. And the subtitle is Empowering Slovenia's Future. We also encourage you, the participants here in the glass hall in Ljubljana, but of course also our viewers and listeners via the Zoom platform to take part in it with comments and also questions in the Zoom section. You can ask your questions via chat, and they're moderated. If there will be any, we'll try to answer it then at the round table. I'm really happy to announce the participants. Some of them were already on stage. Dr. Peter Dröll, representing the European Commission. So welcome back on stage. Then Dr. Boh, representing the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. I'm really happy to announce again Dr. Levin, Assistant Director of the Slovenian Research and Innovation Agency. And we have two gentlemen who haven't been on the stage so far. Mr. Jernej Salecl, Director General in the Industry, Entrepreneurship and Internationalization Directorate at the Ministry of the Economy, Tourism and Sport in the government of Slovenia, and Dr. Tomaž Karčnik, Project and Product Manager at Biosistemica. Welcome also, Mr. Karčnik. So we have around 1 hour to address the, let's say, the subtitle of this round table, but let me start with you, Dr. Dröll. You spoke already here, and we heard your colleagues. We see that the European Commission is doing a lot in making Europe an even better place for innovation and valorization of knowledge, but still to bring a little bit of a global context into the play. Europe seems not to be, let's say, the innovation leader when it comes to the global situation. Why? And how do you think that, I mean, what have to be changed in Europe additionally to what you do to make it a better place as an innovation ecosystem?
That's not exactly an easy question. Huh?
We're not here to ask easy questions.
Okay, so let me try. I think the first one is investment. 3.4% of the US GDP goes into research and development. 3.2% in Japan. 2.4% in China. 2.2% in EU average, and 2.1% in Slovenia. So first is investment. If we want to be an innovation leader, we need to invest more. And second is about markets, which is linked to that because it's also a question of return on investments. And this is where I think we need a stronger single market, a stronger European Union, if I simplify. That is, I think, the key actions also we have to do. Capital market union is one thing, to have a stronger internal market and to have the value creation through innovation then.
But I mean, there are probably some romantic people also here, you know, and they would say money isn't everything. So are there any other aspects beside, of course, more investment in how Europe could cope better with the more agile, more brave, let's say, environments?
Yeah, and this is directionality. Innovation has a direction. This is our ambition to become the first climate-neutral continent, and the Green Deal. And there we are a leader. And we see that in innovation, we see that in patents, we see that also in investments. So this, I think, is really a very positive element from Europe, where we show global leadership. And this will pay off also in terms of our position in these key leading technologies.
Dr. Boh, well, to put it into the Slovenian perspective, we're also lagging behind, let's say, innovation leaders within Europe and also in the world. Of course, you as an expert and your team, apparently we know where the problem is. But how can we, with more investment and then, let's say, a mentality change it for the benefit of Slovenia? How difficult will be this? Because you spoke a little bit about the changing of mentality. That's probably the even more difficult part than investing more.
Yeah, thank you very much. I absolutely agree with you that we are here not to answer the easy questions and probably also the questions with only one right answer. So I believe and we believe that when talking about Slovenian research and innovation ecosystem, there are in the last years, I would say, quite a number of things already started. We just have to, first of all, I would say, we just have to continue with the processes we already started, while in the past we were, I would say, one of the greatest problems for Slovenia was that we changed the direction quite often. We just started the processes, and before there are real results, we changed the direction due to the different reasons. But now...
And the Slovenian excuses, excuse me, the Slovenian excuses, okay, we're good in improvisation. So do we improvise a little bit too much?
Well, I think that when talking about the system and about the smart directionality already mentioned, there is very, very few places for improvisation, and maybe I would say we are improvising too much sometimes. We should not invent new things, reinvent the wheel if there is already very known and successful stories. And I would say that the collaboration, strong collaboration with the EU states, member states, is one of the most important things. I would say we were quite strong with the collaboration within the research community. So from the 5th framework program on, Slovenia was very successful in the collaborative project. But it's not enough. We should collaborate with also not only in the research field, but also coordinate our policies. We are quite intensive in the last years related to this topic. We are active in the ERA forum, in all other aspects of creating common EU policies. And what I would like to say, it's another great challenge and change which should be done. We should, first of all, not be afraid of failure. It's not only the question of researchers, but it's a question of the system. If you ask financiers whether they are able to take risk and actually to allow researchers to fail, better not. And the second thing, think big. So not to be part of the collaborative small project and be part of the bigger story, which is of course good for incremental research, for advancement of what you are already doing. But if you would like to do something new, you should do time to time also disruptive. You should go disruptive way, and of course it goes hand in hand with the risk taking.
By the way, can I be a little bit cynical? Because it was mentioned that your ministry is actually in a startup. Well, startups often fail. I mean, it's in their DNA. So I mean, it's quite risky. Huh?
I absolutely agree with you. But if you do not try, you already have no.
Fail better. Huh? Okay. And another thing, because you mentioned it's no use to invent the wheel. The wheel was invented in Slovenia 5,200 years ago by prehistoric Slovenians. At least a wooden wheel, which was the start of, let's say, sustainable mobility. So I mean, we don't need to do what was already invented in Slovenia globally. It's a fact. Dr. Pal, we heard you too, and we have, let's say, remodeled research agency. Now, what's the game changer here? Because I mean, just renaming the agency from ARS with double R to Aris, which has some connotations to Greece. I mean, it's not enough. What's the real game changer there, if there is any?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is this working?
It's working, yes.
Okay.
But don't be afraid of the mic. Just be, that's the word.
Well, the processes are actually going on very slowly. We are establishing the innovation activity inside the agency, and from the outside you cannot see that much has happened, but from the inside a lot of things have happened, because we actually had to re-establish the agency again. So we didn't just rename the agency, but we had to shut down the old agency and create new one. This is some bureaucratic process. Then we had to do a lot of bureaucratic documents, for example, the annual report and the plan for financing and so on. And this was all going on from June until August. And in parallel, we were also establishing a new sector for the innovation activity. So in June, we put out the call for new employees. And now we are actually working on employment contracts with these new people. So we think that in November we will have at least some people active in the sector for the innovations. And after that we will be able to transform the ongoing existing projects that the ministries have, the Ministry for Higher Education, Science and Innovation, and other ministries, for example, the one for Economy, Tourism and Sports. So these innovation projects will be then transferred to the agency. We plan to start with at least some of them in 2023, but most of them will start in 2024.
There's a lot of construction work going on right now, but when let's say the research and innovation community and the ecosystem will start to feel it really?
Yeah, okay. It will go. The progress is slow, but it goes on for sure. So we want to make everything right and to be ready. I don't know. In 2024, we will have to take care of the projects. So yeah.
Great. A lot of promises. So we'll be eager to see something. Mr. Salecl, well, you're representing the yeah, Mr. Boh, yes.
I would like to add very shortly, while we are working together with the agency very strongly, I would say that the greatest game changer was the fact that we put together in one agency two things, or let's say two parts which are before never working together. So innovation and research, and usually we said that we have that valley in between, and now they are in the same institution. But I also believe, as Levin said, in 2024 there are plans to have tenders, while also there are very concrete ideas how to put the money of different ministries.
Sorry, you mentioned valleys, a valley between. Valley.
Yep.
Yeah, because Slovenians are apparently obsessed with valleys. You know, we have beautiful valleys like the Soča Valley and the valley of the ski jumping hills in Planica. There's also, let's say, we have the St. Florian Valley, which is sort of symbol of Slovenia and its small-mindedness. But when we speak about valleys, Mr. Salecl, well, there is an expression which is not a Slovenian innovation or invention, Death Valley. When it comes to let's say the life of startups and technology and knowledge transfer in general, you start, you get support, you get money, and in the end, if you're successful, you can gather money and you can monetize your inventions on the market, but there's a valley of death in between. And this valley seems to be quite significant and deep in Slovenia. Why and what your ministry would change in this regard?
Thank you. Yeah, a good comparison with valleys. I think all what we said so far and before goes in that context very well.
It is good because we have valleys, we have also high hills. So it's
I agree. I totally agree. If you take the Valley of Planica and our sports achievements, now I can talk about it because our minister is also in charge of sports. It's something we can learn from sportsmen. It's like it was said before. Think big. Be a champion in your mind, also in the mentality of the entrepreneurship, because we have this inside of us. We are just too modest many times, and this comes the second variant, the Šentflorianska, as you said. And I think it's a combination of everything, what we said before. Why the value of that is so significant in Slovenia. One is definitely money. I'm sorry, I know money is not everything, but in this regard, I think it's most of the thing. You have to have very stable resource to breach the value of that and to have it concentrated in one ministry, in one agency. I think this is a very good step forward, and the next thing is to have, like I said, very concrete and predictable source of finance.
And that was one of the problems before.
That is one of the problems, yes. By the way, they are a startup, but it's the second edition. So this is also good because we are giving ourselves the license to fail, which is also...
But they're approaching the valley of death, so... Yeah.
Well, for the time being, but it's our common goal, if you ask me, to go to the Ministry of Finance and say, no, that's enough. No, we really have to have this source of finance to breach this valley. And also in the mentality of not only within the structures of the state, but also in the minds of the researchers on one hand and on the entrepreneurs on the other hand. For instance, I think that academia should start being proud of having monetized inventions out in the market. I
think they are proud.
Not necessarily all of them, but it's changing, slowly but surely. And on the other hand, for the entrepreneurs as such, I think they should accept the idea of having foreign capital and also foreign knowledge within their companies. I mean, you know, in Slovenia, I've met many startups where they are really eager to protect their idea, not letting anybody in. We have the instruments where young startups, also scale-ups, can get money from funds. They just don't want to because this would mean letting someone in the ownership of their company. It's their child. They have to let it go. So it's a combination of all of that, really. It's not a simple answer to not simple questions I said before.
Perhaps there are other reasons for that, but we will discuss them a little bit later. When it comes to think big, be successful, we have, excuse me, a poster boy here, Dr. Karčnik, because your company, as I said, Biosystemica, is an innovative company which is steadily growing. So you made it. How did you make it? I mean, why were you so successful in our, excuse me, St. Florian Valley, despite all the problems? So what did you do what perhaps others haven't done?
Truth be told, or to begin with, I was not there from the very beginning. So some facts I collected from my colleagues. But nevertheless, the company was was a spin-off actually from the National Institute of Biology. And this is still our primary collaborator when it comes to collaborating with the public research institutions, of course, but with others as well. However, the initial idea was to become a product-oriented company with very much focus on the life science. But then we learned as we go, or maybe I should say they learned as they went. So there was a pivot in between, and they found out that the multidisciplinary approach is kind of best approach to really make it. So there was an IT component coming in. So this is what really is, for the time being, the bread and butter of the company. So it's it's a software development for life science companies, laboratories, instrument manufacturers, and so on. Now, as the company grew, we are now like 40 plus people, 10 with PhD. So the ideas started to accumulate there as well. So, for example, the biggest potential and new spin out in forthcoming years is the project that actually I run. And this is the idea to store the data, digital data on DNA molecule, because that has huge promises. Now, this is a huge project, and of course, we needed a serious investment. So, in this case, we went for the EIC grants, which we were quite successful, we actually got 2. So, again, I think, going back to it, I think some flexibility and keeping an eyes open and being able to learn are the key elements.
But basically, would you say that of course it's a tricky issue, that Slovenian mentality is somehow not limited, but that we actually have the problem of not thinking big enough, or are there any other problems because we're not big, and of course our resources are limited?
Yes, of course we have to handle our resources very how could I say, wisely. Okay, thank you. Nevertheless, I mean, on the other hand, I think the smallness, the fact that Slovenia is a very small country, comes a little bit to our advantage. So for any real successful startup, one that has, let's say, high risk, high gain ideas, the one that wants to penetrate much further than Slovenia, then I mean, going across the national or state borders is basically a must. The Slovenian market is so small that it's, I mean, we could say negligible in terms of big ideas. So if you really want to go big, there is no other way than going international. So for example, I see this also as part of our advantage versus, like, let's say, bigger countries. I don't know, Poland I heard is a typical example where many of their startups try just to conquer the local and national market, and maybe the same case is with Italy. So again, I think also the fact that we had this high risk, high gain project, and we very early found out that simply there's no resources in Slovenia to finance that, we started immediately going after the big European grants. So this is what really boosted the project and then offers us, let's say, the ground or the basis for making the next step, like making a spin-off, bringing in additional investors and going big.
Great. We will of course take questions also here in the hall, but also via the chat in Zoom. But let us tackle now another thing. It's capacity building, and also how this technology transfer is actually processed. Dr. Dröll, well, we see, for example, some examples where the technology transfer is actually somehow outsourced. It's for example, the case in France. Is this a chance also for Slovenia to somehow diversify these processes, or could this be a problem for, let's say, smaller countries to outsource this processes?
I don't think that outsourcing as such is a problem or a solution. What is required is professionalism. Mm-hmm. It's not something you can do on top of daily tasks. Mm-hmm. I think there are different forms of how to do it, but what counts is really that you get the best people and that you give them the space to act, mm-hmm. which includes mandate, strategy, but also funding. And what we see from also from universities, for instance, if they invest over a couple of years, also your point, into mm-hmm. building up the system, that becomes very strong and becomes also a magnet mm-hmm. for a smaller country. Can I just make one short comment on the previous discussion?
Yeah, of course.
I think the question of thinking big, what you both raised, that's very true, and it's true for Europe. It's not a Slovenian problem. And if you allow listening to you, I think you are too modest. I mean, Slovenia is very strong when it comes to lifelong learning, when it comes to tertiary education, when it comes to public-private co-publications, international co-publications. Mm-hmm. So you have these links, and yeah, I just wanted to make it sounded a bit too dark here.
No, but modesty is one of the, let's say, self-inflicted Slovenian virtues. I mean, it's really highly regarded.
I like it.
In Slovenia, and we have something in common with the Germans. We like to complain. Actually, we learned it from you. So that's probably, in the context it brings onto the light what our problems are. One question more, Dr. Dröll. Well. What Mr. Salecl was actually addressing, that Slovenian startups are perhaps a little bit too cautious when it comes to opening? Well, it has probably something to do with the problem we would now tackle. It's intellectual property. They fear because they're not strong enough, because they perhaps don't have so much support and know much about protecting intellectual property, that this is also one of the reasons why they're not opening up. What is your position on that?
Yeah, this is a more general problem, and this is why we've done this code, that you deal with it as an asset, not as protecting and managing as if it was an investment at the stock market. And we have tools to support, to develop these strategies. I think the key insight is that you don't have to own IP to benefit from it. You don't have to generate IP to benefit from it. If you have it, maybe you can make more out of it by sharing it, by licensing it. So dealing with it as an investment asset, that's the right approach.
Dr. Boh, what is your startup ministry doing when it comes to empowering the research and innovation community, our ecosystem, especially in this question, intellectual property and having enough information and having enough knowledge to tackle this, I wouldn't say problem, but challenge?
Yeah, first of all, I would mentioned processes which are going in the EU level, knowledge valorization platform and so on. We are in a way promoting it, and we advertise its use around in the research community. And after that, there are several much more, processes supported by money, which I believe is, as Jernej already said, very important element. First of all, we believe that the creation of the community of professionals working in these areas is of crucial importance, and that's why we believe the stable support is needed. So I already mentioned the tenders, and also its research institutions have to also have a strategy how to develop this field. While we have a 6 years contract with a performance contract with the research institutions, and this is according to the law also part of this contract and strategy. So how your institution will work on these topics. I would go a bit further. It's of course always the question of human potential to do so, but also I believe that for a valorization of knowledge and also for collaboration between different parts of the ecosystem, it's also very important research infrastructure. For example, for Biosystemica or similar startups or young companies, it's important to have access to the research infrastructure you need, and usually it's too expensive to actually build its own. So we at the ministry in the last year are strongly focusing on research infrastructure. We are building quite a number of sites, especially one in the life sciences of National Institute of Biology. We build a supercomputer which is part of the Euro HPC in Maribor. When it was built, it was, I think, among 30 in the world according to the calculating power. We are also doing some other investments at home, and also open doors to research infrastructure around Europe through the ESFRI infrastructures. And we believe that this is the important element which puts together researchers with those researchers who are going in the entrepreneurial way. So high-tech companies, and all together with, I already said, human resources and development of professional community in this part, all together leads to the better collaboration between research and innovation and valorization of
knowledge.
Dr. Pal, what is your institution, I mean, ARIS doing in this regard? Do you plan any, let's say, seminars, obligatory, let's say, courses to empower researchers and innovators in this regard, not only intellectual property, but standardization and monetization of knowledge?
This is actually, this kind of courses were actually going on in the past. As I remember, we had, they were like obligatory for the young students, so that they could learn something about intellectual property and so on. And these times we could upgrade that to knowledge valorization, for example, so that they would have the knowledge once they completed their study.
But do you have programs of such way also in the future?
This is a very good initiative, actually, but I have to. I will for sure ask my colleagues why we did not demand this kind of educations anymore in the past at the agency.
I can imagine one answer. We don't have money for it.
No, but I don't think because it. Yeah, maybe it's also the reason.
I mean, it's a suggestion. I don't know.
But to my opinion, one thing maybe Tomaž can also confirm. But I think that the public research organizations are now like autonomous. So we provide them the stable funding for their operation, but they can organize such educations on their own because it's in their interests to have good researchers. So this might be one of the reasons why this was transferred to the public research organizations. Maybe you can also.
We have one suggestion: keep your mic closer to your mouth, so that's. I mean, you can learn every day, so keep it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like a journalist, you know.
Well, it's communication. I mean, now with the refurbishing of ARIS, you have also to learn the skills. So I mean, you're planning to do something in this regard.
Yes, the answer is yes. I can for sure ask because this is a good initiative, and I don't think that there's nothing wrong with thinking about this kind of.
Yes, do ask, please. Mr. Salecl, one thing is very, very important also to know about Slovenia. Of course, I mean, we're not the poorest country in Europe. We have tradition, we have knowledge, as the gentleman from the European Commission also said. So perhaps we sometimes are not bold enough to build on what we have. What is typical of Slovenia, of course, are the SMEs, which are a sort of a backbone of our prosperity. So, and how could your ministry, your directorate actually help in also empowering the SMEs as the entrepreneur ecosystem to assist and to collaborate more with public research institutions? So are there still let's say possibilities to improve this collaboration? Do you have any plans how to do it specifically?
Well, yes, we've been trying to do it for quite a long time, actually.
And some would say a lot of people didn't see it, but okay.
I agree, but it's important what Tomaž said in the beginning is to stick on to a plan that you have, not to change it too often. So if you have a strategy, it's good to follow it. So one of such instruments that was implemented in the past was strategic research innovation partnerships, so-called SRIPs, that derived from the smart specialization strategy in Slovenia, which actually had pretty good results, and it's now going on within the Ministry of Innovation.
They still live. They still
live. Yeah, but that's good because we didn't terminate them. So it's a program that is 5-6 years old, and it's an ongoing process. So this is one, for instance. The second is to have strong technology transfer offices within the institutes, of course, to be open to the entrepreneurship as well, and to try to connect them with SMEs, especially also through some financial support of small values like vouchers. So we had pretty good systems of vouchers in the past, and we are developing them for the future as well. Not only to collaborate with the academia and researchers within Slovenia, but also to go abroad. It was said before, very important for Biosystemica was to gain European funds. I think this is a very big opportunity for our companies, not only big ones, but SMEs as well, to be brave enough to start this application as well. And this is one of the vouchers, so-called, where we are planning to have in the future, starting with next year, to support them and to cover some costs for this kind of activities.
Do you also plan to support it with sort of a know-how? Because Europe is great, but it's quite complicated also when it comes to finding ways to get money. It's a sort of, excuse me, Dr. Dröll, bureaucratic. So are there any ways to help the research community, but also the SMEs in let's say assisting through this big forest or mess of let's say rules, and which is okay, but through this bureaucratic mess, excuse me.
I said maze actually, yeah, but mess okay. Is also good.
Okay.
No, look, I would say like that. It is a maze, but it's not a mess. Bureaucracy is very, very tough for all of us, but it's also assures stability in times of political instability. So it's not always bad. It's good sometimes. And to have support for the SMEs to find a way through is just what I was referring to. Not only through the ministries, because you have to know ministries have, and agencies as well, limited resources and limited capabilities.
Ministries are also sometimes quite a mess, but okay.
Well, that's another story. Yeah. But what I was referring to is to secure the resources for the professionals that can come through this maze, and they, like it was said before, they don't do this on top of their regular job, but that this is their job. So this is the aim, and to have money for that, to support that, and give this money to the SMEs, so they can help them get through the maze, not okay. Necessarily mess.
The question of intellectual property strategies for business development, what are you doing in this regard?
Well, I think that intellectual property is one of the most neglected aspects in Slovenia and in the companies. Maybe also because until recently our intellectual property office was functioning well, but fairly invisible. It's doing some good activities in the past year to be more active, to be proactive, to raise awareness. I don't know if you know, but in the past 2 years, our intellectual property office brought in Slovenia both the Director Generals of the European Intellectual Property Organization and World Intellectual Property Organization. And this is the steps of how to make intellectual property more visible and give it, how to give it its significance. One of the ideas of how to further encourage that is to, we are having talks with the Slovenian, with Seed Banka, with the development bank, how to make maybe a pilot program that intellectual property could also be an asset to, as a guarantee when you pick up a loan. Not only that you have a guarantee as a building, but also an intellectual property. It's a very difficult project. It's something it would never or almost never go through with a commercial bank, but with the development bank there is a potential. And this is something our intellectual property office is working on.
Great. Before we open the question, the session for questions from the audience and also via our participants at Zoom, just a short comment perhaps by Dr. Karčnik. We have two Tomažes here. So Tomaž number 2 or number 1 as you wish. What is in your company, let's say, the experience with IP strategies?
I mean, at the first glance, it looks like filing for an IP protection looks like a straight path. But when you really but once you really want to take the advantage of it, there are so many twists and turns along that path that you really need help. This is particularly true for a company like ours. I mean, small, medium-sized, because you don't really have an expert on this, as the I don't know, university or big institutes can afford to keep on stuff. So it basically it takes a lot of time, effort, and of course it costs. Simply, it's time and it's also cost of external collaborators, consultants that help you find the optimal way through. I mean, if you just file a patent and you do that, the path is pretty straightforward. But if you want really to make the best out of it, it's not that simple. It turns out that this, for example, in our case, it turned out that we have, I would use a very abused word from a decade ago, misunderestimated the amount of resources that we need to put into that to make it efficient. I wouldn't talk about the specific numbers, but again, it was. But again, on the other hand, I think it's essential because, as this has been discussed minutes ago, when you go and talk to an investor, I have been sitting on an investment fund a while ago as well, so I know the story from the other side as well. So it's. The IP or the intellectual property does have a value, a huge value, and they're actually looking at it much more than at the building, at the other stuff. So again, this is a must, but it's not simple.
But do you see, let's say, good solutions in this regard? What we have heard today, what we have heard from other gentlemen in the panel?
I'm not a politician. I don't move in those circles, so I didn't put really much effort into it. I just can say what I see on the balance sheet at the end of the year, that the expenses the expenses and the time we invested in this was huge.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem, no problem. We were now open for your questions here in the audience. We still haven't got any questions from our audience via Zoom. So is there anybody here who would like to raise a point or ask a question? I know that asking questions in conferences is another national sport in Slovenia. So yes, but we have a lady from Romania. And European Commission, of course.
Let me speak, yes, on behalf of the Commission. I just want to raise a point, no questions. I was impressed by the debate, because you talked so much about IP and training, and you know this is a dear topic to me. I just wanted to say that we appreciate that you are doing things locally, but we can also offer support. And with this awareness-raising campaign, what we are trying to do is to also promote training on IP and standardization. And in some of the national events, they actually asked us to facilitate those trainings by asking our partners, which may be EU IPO, WIPO, so the European Intellectual Property Organization, the worldwide, sorry, not the WIPO, because we don't work with them, the EU IPO, the Patent Office, the European Patent Office, or the IP Help Desk. They were already in Lithuania and they were very well received, a one-year training. They will come to Portugal in November, also to Greece. This is not a one-time event. We have this awareness-raising campaign running until the end of next year. So you can contact us and we can put you in contact with them and foster, let's say, all these skills on IP and how to take it up in your organizations. It can also be a remote training, so we are open to discussing.
So great. Brussels is not a problem. Brussels offers solution. Okay. Any other questions or suggestions? Yes, we have a gentleman deep down at the beginning of or at the end of the hall.
Hi, Luka Mohoric from a company called Animacell, a startup company in deep tech as well. We talked a lot about how startups are being shy, and to a certain degree, I agree of accepting someone in. But the other thing is who to accept in. Yeah? Of course, on one side you have projects from the European Commission, which I can't complain that they're not available because we have a very good example of someone getting through. But on the other side, there are also private investors. And for private investors, you have to have a very good story before you approach them, and you have to have a lot of them to have kind of competing offers for you as well. And in Slovenia, I think this is one point that we are lacking until now. Maybe in future we'll have a bit more chances, but if you have no competition at home to get some private investment in, it's hard to get it outside as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for your contribution. Any comment on that? Because we have stories in Slovenia. You just have to invest more in social sciences. But anyway, so yeah, of course, Dr. Dröll.
That is a very important point. I'm very happy that it was raised. And this is perhaps, on venture capital, if you look at the innovation performance across Europe, Slovenia is last in Europe as regards venture capital. So that could be something to act in order to create this competition for startups and to have the chance to get bigger, without having investors with a very fast exit strategy, which is not for the benefit or in the interest of the company.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, Mr. Salecl.
Just a short comment, because I agree with what you just said, invest in social sciences a bit more. And also it goes how to make the ecosystem, especially within, you were asking before, within the tech transfer offices and SRIPs and so on. Also, a partial answer could be have more people working within the marketing, communications, sales, and so on. I had a discussion with not long ago with president of the board of Krka, with Mr. Colaric. He said we have two very strong pillars in our company.
It's a pharmaceutical company.
It's a pharmaceutical company with
one of the biggest.
One of the biggest, with great turnover. With they spend a lot for research and development and innovation. And he said one is to spend at least 10% of our revenue for the R&D, which is a huge amount. And the second pillar is marketing and sales. Without that, it just doesn't work. If you don't sell your products to anyone, you are just not out there. You don't make money, and the spiral goes on. If you don't make money, you cannot invest into R&D, and so on and so on. So I agree with that remark very much.
I mean, I come from social sciences, so that's why I have to make the point. Because we don't have any questions from Zoom, do we have any other questions from? Yes, we have a lady here. Here.
Thank you. My name is Maja Rimškal. I'm a researcher at Josef Stefan Institute and entrepreneur of a small company. My question is actually regarding the current system of national projects, research projects. We have two kinds of projects: basic projects and applied projects. And for these applied projects, we need a company which has to invest quarter of the money for this applied-oriented research. And as it was already mentioned, the companies do not like really to invest money to research projects, although applied-oriented research projects. So I would have a proposal that maybe another group of the project would be proposed, maybe, or applied-oriented projects without necessary co-investment of the companies. And with this, maybe we can decrease this gap between the knowledge and industrial use. Because in last, let's say, 10 or even more years, it was not possible to apply for the development project at all. So researchers, we were somehow stuck. We couldn't do really knowledge transfer because it was not money for this. And in our spare time and in our, voluntary work, it's not possible to do such important transfer. So I would like a response maybe from Ministry for Higher Education.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments and replies on that?
Okay.
Keep the mic close, okay?
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that this kind of applied projects are actually coming from the past, and they are not, to my opinion, they are not in time at the moment. And we at the agency and also the European Union is actually supporting the research development and innovation projects where the companies are funded to a certain amount from the state, while the public research organizations may be funded 100% from the state. So it's a different model. It's not like the company and the state.
Keep the mic close.
I am. How can I then explain with my hands? You know?
Yeah, just look. It's a simple solution. Just use one hand for a point. Okay.
I would need a wireless mic.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, but the point is that research development and innovation projects are now, let's say, in line with these times, because they also have a great way on how to deal with the intellectual property, and they also have, like they support this effective collaboration type of collaboration between the companies and the public research organizations. And this is, some of these projects are already going on also in our agency. They are called TRL 3 to 6, but of course in the future there will be more of them, and we have to learn and optimize them hand in hand with ministry, I guess. So yeah, that's from my side. I hope I answered to your question.
Dr. Boh, one of the two Tomažes.
Yeah, thank you. I would not like to oversimplify this question, while it's all about the nature of the project and what is the the final outcome also related to the company. If there is a competitive advantage which is made to the company by such kind of projects, you know, we have to stick to the state aid rules, and it's always the question how to organize it, where to find the balance between the burden which comes with the state aid rules and on the other side the level of co-financing of the project. You already mentioned 3 to 6 projects. But they are the subject of the state aid rules. And so it means it's not 100% co-financing anyhow. And when talking about the basic research, the projects which were before performed by the agency and are known as a applied project are in their nature, according to the taxonomy, still the basic research. So it means they are not part of the state aid rules. So it means that the question of IPR should be dealt differently than if there is another type of project. But still, I believe that we should diversify projects which are basic research, which is on the other side, which part of the project are still basic research but goal-oriented, could be also to some company, but still knowledge has to be publicly available to all users under the same conditions. But if we have another step forward, are already the subject of the state aid rules, and these are a bit different and also for managing a bit more complicated project. But yeah, I agree with both of you that we have to diversify and think about the most appropriate instrument mix to support all the different projects.
Great.
Now you hear me.
It's working. Just keep
I just
the mic
wanted to add that this I totally agree with you because this mark applied project is actually not really correct one for this kind of projects because they are just co-financed by the industry, but they are basic research according to the taxonomy of the European Commission. Okay.
Great. Any other comments by panel members? Any wish to say something more? If not, thank you very much. We have a really important part of our conference right now coming. It's called break.